my given name is...
Hello, this is Patricia Krenwinkel here with National Kansas News. Sorry to interrupt your program, but we have some breaking news out of Lawrence as of right now. Let's go to our field reporter, Lynette Fromm, for some more information.
Hi, thanks Patricia. I'm here in Lawrence, Kansas, where last Wednesday, May 21st, a pillage occurred that nearly destroyed the town. The perpetrators were a pro-slavery group of about 800 men. They pressed into the anti-slavery town of Lawrence and destroyed 2 newspaper printing presses and their offices, blew up the Eldridge House Hotel, and robbed and set fire to their homes. We have a quote here from Thomas Gladstone.
The newspaper offices were the first objects of attack. The presses were in each case broken to pieces, and the offending type carried away to the river. The papers and books were burnt and tore. From the printing offices, they went to the hotel. As orders were given to remove the furniture, the wild mob threw the articles out of the windows, but shortly found congenial employment in emptying the cellars. By this time, 4 cannons had been brought opposite the hotel, and they attempted to blow it up. The only result was the shattering of some windows and limited damage. It was soon encircled in a mass of flames.
I'm here with Wojtek Frykowski to tell us a little bit more about the events that occurred that day. Wojtek, can you tell us more about what you remember?
Yeah, well, my situation went a little different than how Thomas described his. So I was at home and I was heating up a breakfast corn dog when all of a sudden I heard a boom, boom, boom! And I looked outside and I thought it was my corn dog, but it was really just the Eldridge house being destroyed. And so then all of a sudden these men came into my house and they said, "Get out." And I said, "No." And then all of a sudden I kind of just walked out of my house because I didn't want to deal with that anymore. And then I was just sitting there and I saw my house being destroyed. And it was just a really sad moment.
Thank you.
Mom!
I think we have what we need. Good. These unorganized criminals first failed to destroy the hotel. The general's cue to fire was followed by many missing shots, leaving the hotel unharmed. After numerous attempts to demolish the building, it was ultimately burned to the ground. The women and children of Lawrence left the city while the men, offering no resistance, sat back and watched the homes being destroyed. Now, back to Patricia.
Thank you, Lynette. This past Monday, May 19th, Massachusetts Senator Charles Sumner gave a speech in the Senate which attacked South Carolina Senator Andrew Butler on his pro-slavery belief and speech impairment. 3 days later, on Thursday, May 22nd, Butler's nephew, Preston Brooks, went into Sumner's chamber and caned him. He is currently suffering from shock and brain damage, and doctors say he may not return to the Senate for another 3 years. On the phone with us today, we have Tex Watson from South Carolina and Linda Kasabian from Massachusetts to give their opinions on the violence in the Senate. Let's start with you, Tex.
We are rejoiced. The only regret we feel is that Mr. Brooks did not employ a slave whip instead of a stick. Here in Columbia, a handsome sum has been subscribed for the purpose of presenting Mr. Brooks with a splendid silver pitcher, goblet, and a stick.
An outrage so gross and villainous was never before committed within the walls of the Capitol. This bully Brooks, who has disgraced the name of man, ought to be branded as a villain of the blackest dye, and then mercilessly kicked from one end of the continent to the other.
The debate is not only continued between these two, but between the entirety of the North and the South. In other news, today, May 24th, there has been a killing spree in the Pottawatomie Creek area. Reporting live from the scene is Vincent Bugliosi.
Hi, I'm here in Pottawatomie Creek where 5 men have been massacred. Their hands were hacked off and they were stabbed with what appears to be broadswords. No word has come in about who the murderer is yet, and because of this, authorities expect many incidents like this to occur in the future. I'm standing by with a man named John Brown who claims to have witnessed the massacre.
Hello, I'd just like to give a shout out to my super abolitionist parents, my sons, and God, because if he didn't make that call, I wouldn't have done it. He really was my inspiration.
Wouldn't have done what without his call?
Murder all those men, that's all.
You're the murderer?
Yeah, so in the sack of Lawrence, these people, they didn't do anything at all. 5 men were killed and they didn't do anything. And, I was called to fight slavery, and I had to do that, so I did it because God told me to.
5 men didn't die in the sack of Lawrence. Back to Patricia!
Thank you, Vincent. This whole situation could have been prevented if the border ruffians hadn't come from Missouri to illegally vote for Kansas to become a slave state. There is so much death and blood in Kansas right now that it seems as though, because of the violence in the Senate, Pottawatomie Creek, and Sack of Lawrence, Kansas is bleeding. These three events have something in common. The federal government did nothing to stop them. With Kansas bleeding and the federal government not preventing this bleeding, I can speak for everyone here at National Kansas News saying that there will be a death of the Union. So be prepared, America. Now, back to your regular scheduled programming, and remember, you stay classy, Kansas.
I can't.
Their hands were
They would chat.
Gang.
Yes.